Okay, so as many of you know, I love to implement my rule of half. What is the rule of half? Well, it's my rule of half. I call it that anyway for a long, long time. My rule of half is doing things, well, if I don't have to do it the whole way, I could do it the halfway and I could save money and I could slow down my rate of spending and keeping what I already paid for. It even works you're making box cake mix. Jan, what are you talking about? How can you possibly figure out the rule of half when baking a cake? Well, I absolutely can do it and have done it, but I ran out of something in the middle of it all. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Jan. Welcome to another episode of my channel, the Save Money More with Jan channel. How you doing today? Hopefully you're doing well. You know, it is baking season for so many people, and sometimes you just want to bake because you just want something. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a holiday, doesn't have to be a special occasion. That's why I believe in my rule of half. And also to slow down the use of calories, to slow down the use of frosting. You'll see where I'm going with this. Well, how do you implement that when baking a cake? I even had an obstacle get in my way, which I normally never have that obstacle, but I did. Okay, so let me tell you all about it. What I do is I open up, in this case, it was a chocolate cake. Okay, so I took some box cake mix, just your standard box cake mix, and it was chocolate, just happened to be chocolate. All right. What I do is I take the packaging, I don't open it yet. I shake it around, I move it around, I move the flour ingredients around while it is still closed. The bag is still closed. Okay. And that's what I do. Shake it up, make sure everything, all the dry ingredients inside are shooken up, shaken up, shooken, shaken. Okay, whatever. So then what I do is I take my hand and I cup my thumb and my finger next to it around it, and I twist it around to be like an hourglass, to look like an hourglass shape. Okay, halfway through the process. Now you can avoid that and just make 2 layers at the same time, but I like to do it the other way sometimes. Don't ask me, it's just fun. So then what I do what I do is I keep it twisted like the hourglass shape, then I go to the top and I make a little hole in the corner of the top of the bag on any side, okay? On the outside, obviously. And then I pour that amount, and when I see that that's finished with, there you go. There's my rule of half. I use that. I take that amount. I could also pre-measure it and figure out the measurements, but I don't do it. I eyeball it. I work a lot by eyeballing. You know, when you've been experienced as a cook or a baker person for a little while, you eyeball a lot of stuff. So anyway, okay, so I poured that amount in a mixing bowl. And then instead it says, oh, use 3 eggs. Nonsense. Didn't need 3 eggs. Well, first of all, I'm doing half of the box. Remember that. And also, it really never needs 3. It needs 1, that's for sure. So I took 1 large egg in this case, okay? And then, of course, it tells you to put, water, and so on. Well, what did you run out of, Jan? Now, customarily, I just use a capful, CAPFUL, capful of oil. Now, I do not, as a rule, use oil a lot. I had oil, but I looked at it and looked kind of funky. You know what I mean? I said, I'm not going to take a chance on it. Maybe the oil went rancid because of the fact that I rarely, hardly ever use oil. And when I do, it's in very teensy weensy amounts. It's the truth. So it might have been laying around there too long of a time. So I said, well, what am I going to do? This is crazy, but I did it. I had canola oil in my spray can. Okay, it says canola spray, right? So I said, well, it's oil. So you know what I did? Not only did I spray my pan as the nonstick, I took that same can and I sprayed it. It's canola oil. Yes, of course, it has the propellant, but that's what helps it come out of the can. But that same propellant, and you're using it on the bottom of your pan. So I said, well, it does have canola oil, and I don't want to take a chance and use the rancid one. Possibly rancid. Maybe it wasn't. I didn't want to take a chance. So anyway, so I took that can and I sprayed into it. I just sprayed right over it. Then I just proceeded to mix it up as the directions said. Can I tell you something? That cake never came out any better than ever before. 23 minutes for one single layer at 350. Just 23 minutes. Use that trick. Keep that in mind. Now, I could have used butter, But with the price of butter these days, I don't wanna, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to. Now let's talk on the extremely much richer side. I recently saw a video. I'm gonna try to locate it. It was created about 6 years ago. I wrote down the name. I couldn't really, get all of it because for some reason the TV screen seemed to put half of the title on. I will try to find that. But this is on the other side of the deal. But anyway, back to, my cake for a second. It was perfect. It was so good. You could have sat down and ate it without any frosting on it. Now let's go back to the rule of half. In my case, with the way I utilize a frosting on a cake, I don't use a ton of frosting on a cake. 1 can for me gets me through 4 baked layers of cake. So that means I have 4 chances. When I am done with my frosting, I right away put it back, I cover it up, I put it back, and I put it down I put it in the freezer. I never have a problem with it until I want to use it again. Or you could portion it out and put it into food savers. So literally, I use 1/4 of a can because I like to work with the single layers. It's a great way to save, and it's a great way to have less calories. In addition to that, I also enjoy put if I do make a double layer cake, I only put the frosting on the top of the cake. I do not put it on the sides. So that means both layers have the frosting only on the top of the cake. This is less calories and you're using less frosting. I'm telling you, for me, this trick works. It's an old trick of mine. I've been doing it for a long time. But let's get back to the young lady. This in her video, and I really hope and pray to find it. Um, the young lady was baking a cake for her grandfather's 80, I believe it was his 89th birthday. 89th birthday. What a privilege. How sweet and how thoughtful. Very, very sweet and thoughtful of the young lady to do that for her grandfather, right? And, she goes the opposite way. She does a hack. She explains a hack using, again, boxed cake mix, and I like the flavors she chose. She chose a boxed cake mix of French vanilla, right? And also, part of her, icing or frosting was also raspberry. She makes her own buttercream. Oh my word, I'm telling you. I went to a wedding once, about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, and the cake was so outstanding because it was 2 simple flavors. It was a professional cake, right? But the flavors were very striking. French vanilla with raspberry filling. Oh my word. Just mentioning this for anybody who wants to come up with like flavors, different flavors for their cakes. And you know what else it reminded me of? The fact that the young lady made this cake for her grandpa, right? Was such a thoughtful thing. Let's get back to some of these thoughtful things. It is a very nice idea to bake a cake for a loved one, for friends, for family, anybody you care about, taking that little time to do that. And I just thought it was a lovely, lovely thing. Just wanted to throw out some ideas for you and also to let you know how I managed to get through that obstacle. But I did. It's amazing. When there is a will, there is a way. You could also do another thing. Even if you don't want to use double layers at the same time, you could bake the layers, the double layers at the same time, the 2 pans with a single layer in it, and just freeze one for the future. I don't like to always have a double layer cake. That's just way too much. It's nice when you want to have a once in a while, treat or you get company. You already have it done. Take it down from the freezer, just frost it, and very soon it defrosts, and you got yourself a cake for a friend or a family member. There you go. Thoughtfulness can go a long way. Saving money can go a long way. Saving time, effort, and energy definitely helps go a long way.